Nashville, Tennessee, country music capital of the world, home of the Grand Ole Opry, where singers and dreamers come seeking stardom. Join me as we learn about the lives and careers of those who built this town on Classic Country Backstories. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Classic Country Backstories. I'm Colleen Gallagher, and today we're going to learn all about another country and western star, Cowboy Copas. Now, Cowboy Copas was born Lloyd Estill Copas on July 15th, 1913 in Blue Creek, Ohio. His parents were Marion and Lola Copas. Reportedly, he had 6 siblings, 3 brothers and 3 sisters. He learned to play guitar and fiddle at an early age and was singing by the age of 10. When he was a teenager, he was actually singing on the radio. He reportedly got his nickname when he walked onto the stage with Lester the Natchez Indian, a young fiddler from Peebles. Someone shouted, "Let's see what you can do, cowboy," and the name stuck. He began at WLW-AM and WKRC in Cincinnati in the 1930s. Then, Copas moved to Knoxville to perform for WNOX-AM with his band, the Gold Star Rangers. Lloyd Copas was married to Edna Lucille Markins and was father of 2 sons and 1 daughter. Copas moved to Nashville in 1940 in hope of having a career with his band. Copas had a tenor voice and a flat-top picking style using a thumb pick that was unique from all the other so-called hillbilly acts of the 40s and 50s. In 1943, Cowboy achieved national fame when he replaced Eddie Arnold as the singer in the Pee Wee King Band, and he began performing on WSM's Grand Ole Opry. Cowboy Copas had his first solo release with Filipino Baby on King Records in 1946. The song made it all the way to number 4 on the Billboard country charts and sparked the most successful period of Copas's career. Lloyd continued to appear on the Grand Ole Opry, as well as recording several other hits in the 1940s and early 50s. He became known as the country gentleman of song. He recorded Signed, Sealed, and Delivered, The Tennessee Waltz, Tennessee Moon, Breeze, I'm Waltzin' with Tears in My Eyes, Candy Kisses, Hangman's Boogie, and The Strange Little Girl. In 1948, Cowboy Copas was on the cover of Billboard magazine. This was a huge deal at the time for any country entertainer to grace the cover. "'Tis Sweet to Be Remembered" was recorded in 1952. It went up to number 8 on the Billboard charts. However, it was his final top 40 for 8 years. Even when Cowboy Copas was not on the Billboard charts, he continued to perform on the Grand Ole Opry and appeared on ABC's Ozark Jubilee. After a time with Dot Records and not much success, he moved to Starday Records. Copas surged to the top of the charts once again in 1960 with a song called Alabam. This song was number 1 for 12 weeks and remained on the charts for 34 weeks. He went on to record Flat Top and a remake of Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. Copas co-wrote several songs, including Signed, Sealed, and Delivered in 1947. This song has been covered by at least a dozen performers, including Hank Thompson, Ernest Tubb, Lefty Frizzell, James Brown, George Morgan, Red Sylvine, and Sammy Davis Jr. Lloyd's daughter, Kathy Copas Hughes, frequently traveled with her father on his concert tours across America since she was 16 years old and got to know him pretty well, according to an interview she gave to an Ohio newspaper. They recorded many duets together. It was apparent that they shared DNA as heard in their family harmony blends. Cowboy Copas recorded an album in 1962 called Mr. Country Music. Ironically, the final track of the album was a song entitled I Dreamed of a Hillbilly Heaven. In this song, he mentions himself among country stars Jimmy Rogers and Hank Williams. In 1963, he released Goodbye Kisses. On Saturday, March the 2nd, 1963, Cowboy Copas performed on the Grand Ole Opry for the last time. He hosted the Jefferson Island Salt portion at 9 p.m., opening with You Don't Have to Be a Baby to Cry. In the middle of the portion, he sang his most well-known hit, Alabam, for which he received a standing ovation. Then he closed the portion with the man upstairs. The second portion for Cowboy Copas was at 11:30 p.m., where he opened with Down in Nashville, Tennessee. His final song on the Grand Ole Opry was Flat Top. Hawkshaw Hawkins was also making his final Opry appearance that night. The next morning, March 3rd, 1963, according to Kathy Copas Hughes, she and her mother were getting ready for church when Hawkshaw arrived at the Copas home. Hawk, Copas, Patsy, Cline were all meeting Randy Hughes at the airport. Kathy's 11-year-old brother, Mike, had a new toy called a gyroscope and was trying to make it work. Before they left, Hawk and Copas was in the floor with little Mike playing with the toy. Then Kathy and her mother dropped Hawkshaw and Copas off at the airport before going to church. Upon arriving in Kansas City, Kansas, Cowboy Copas, Hawkshaw Hawkins, Patsy Cline, Dottie West, and many others performed 3 benefit concerts for the family of Kansas City disc jockey Cactus Jack Call, who was killed in an automobile accident in January of 1963. Due to impending bad weather, most of the entertainers drove to the concert as it was not safe to fly. Dottie West and her husband had a station wagon and invited Patsy Cline to ride with them, but she was in a hurry to get back home to her children. The weather conditions were bad enough that flying wasn't possible on March 4th, so Hughes, Cline, Hawkins, and Copas were forced to spend another night in Kansas City. On March 5th, Randy Hughes, pilot of the Piper Comanche plane, departed for Nashville, carrying his father-in-law, Cowboy Copas, along with fellow Opry stars Hawkshaw Hawkins and Patsy Cline. Hughes was also Patsy Cline's manager. Hughes was not trained in instrument flying, but decided to depart Kansas City anyway. He made stops to refuel in Rogers, Arkansas, and Dyersburg, Tennessee. The pilot and performers were offered sleeping quarters in Dyersburg, but refused. Hughes assured his passengers he could get them home safely. They took off a little after 6 p.m. Impending bad weather was approaching. Randy Hughes took off from the Dyersburg airport against the advice of the airfield manager. After encountering bad weather with poor visibility and strong winds, the plane crashed just west of Camden, Tennessee, in a hollow ridge known as Fatty Bottom. Everyone aboard the aircraft died on impact. Kathy Hughes, wife of Randy Hughes and daughter of Copas, talked with Hughes a mere 20 minutes before takeoff. Hughes told his wife that they would be home in a couple hours. Kathy and her mother went to the airport after eating dinner to pick them up. They waited for quite some time, then realized that something was wrong. They went home and waited for the news. The authorities never contacted the families when the wreckage was initially found. Sadly, Kathy Copas Hughes got confirmation that the plane crashed on WSM's 7 a.m. news broadcast. As a result of this tragedy, she lost both her father and her husband at the age of 28. Cowboy Copas was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Gardens in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, next to his son-in-law, Randy Hughes. Hawkshaw Hawkins was buried just a few feet away from Copas and Hughes. Memorial services were held for Patsy Cline in Nashville. Then her body was sent back to Winchester, Virginia, her hometown, for burial at the Shenandoah Memorial Park. A huge boulder with the names of those who lost their lives inscribed on it was dedicated to mark the crash site on July 6, 1996. In 2004, the Adams County and Ohio Historical Societies erected an upright bronze marker in honor and remembrance of Lloyd Cowboy Copas. Here is a footnote to the story. Patsy Cline has been the focus of a feature film and many articles and interviews. However, the lives and tragic deaths of Cowboy Copas and Hawkshaw Hawkins have not received as much attention. Patsy's husband, Charlie Dick, spoke on this during an interview with a Tennessean newspaper out of Nashville. He said, "Usually today, Patsy seems to get top billing, but Patsy was a big fan of Copas and Hawk, and they were stars. Everyone on that plane was important to the music business, and all of them were top dogs." I hope you all enjoyed today's vlog on Cowboy Copas. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for being with me. God bless, and we'll see you later.